Hi everyone, thanks for joining. As it's a few minutes past, let's kick things off. I know a few more people will be joining, so Helen or Charlotte, just whilst I start things off, if you can let the sort of stragglers in, that would be brilliant, thank you. So just let you know, this session will be recorded and we'll circulate the recording afterwards, just so if you want to revisit any part of the section or share with anyone else in your team. So just to go through introductions, we're going to do introductions, what's changing. So obviously Microsoft Project Online retiring, we'll go into sort of Smartsheet, then implementation, and then finish off with a sort of Q&A and discussion. Before we go into introductions, I thought it'd be useful for me just to briefly explain who Cheetah Transformation are and where we sit within the Smartsheet ecosystem. So we are a Smartsheet Platinum partner and we specialize solely in helping customers design, implement and scale Smartsheet solutions. So we support industry-leading organizations, including Amazon, Chanel, Network Rail, DFTO, Under Armour and The Times. In practice, that means helping organizations put the right structure, governance and reporting in place, whilst making sure the solution is practical for teams to use day to day. We also have several former Smartsheet employees in the business, myself included. So alongside the implementation expertise, we bring a strong understanding of the platform and best practices that help customers get the most value from it. What we've consistently seen is that success is not just about the platform itself, it's about shaping a solution around how the organization actually works. So it improves visibility, supports governance, and delivers value quickly without adding any unnecessary admin. It's also worth noting that we can support in both licenses and implementation services. So whether you buy the licenses directly through Smartsheet or via Cheetah, the licensing cost remains the same. And we work very closely with Smartsheet and act as an extension of your account team. So we make sure there's a joined up approach across delivery, account support and customer success. So moving on to introductions, obviously I'm Amy and I'm the public sector lead here at Cheetah. My background is in working in business transformation. I previously worked at both Amazon and Revolut in supporting improvements across procurement and financial operations. We also have Charlotte and Rob with us today. Charlotte will be joining the demo later on and Rob will join us for the Q&A at the end. We do also have Helen who will be managing the chat and answering any immediate questions. So feel free to ask as we go. And of course we can discuss further at the end. Charlotte and Rob, would you briefly like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure, I can go first. Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte. I'm a solutions engineer at Smartsheet. I have spent my early years here as a implementations consultant actually. So I've worked with dozens of teams building solutions from scratch, migrating off legacy systems, and really just trying to help people navigate all the messy human stuff that comes with change. That background has given me kind of real respect for what project managers and PMO teams actually deal with. And today I'm here to partner with Cheetah just to show you what's possible when you are planning to build a system for a modern PMO. So that's me. I'll hand over to Rob.
And hi everyone, I'm Rob Everstein. I head up the team here at Cheetah, and I've been working with Smartsheet for about 8 years now, so looking forward to the session this afternoon.
Thanks both. So let's just move on to the topic of today, and to be honest, it's likely one of the reasons why you've joined the session. So Microsoft Project Online will retire in September of this year. So today we'll walk through what that means in practice, the options organizations are considering, and how teams are approaching this transition. There's also a couple of earlier milestones just to be aware of. So from April, organizations can no longer create Project Online setups. And from July, Project Server 2016 and 2019 reach end of support. So while September is kind of the main headline date, the transition's already underway. And actually, Charlotte, Rob and I were at the DigiGov Expo last year, and we had countless conversations with organizations who are already starting to prepare. I think ultimately this isn't just a product change, it's a decision point. It's sort of a chance to review how you've been managing work so far and how you'd like to manage it going forward. So really, what are your options? So when you get to this point, there are a few different paths that you can take. And to be fair, it makes complete sense why many organizations adopted Microsoft Project Online in the first place. It sat naturally within the wider Microsoft environment. It was familiar and it gave PMOs a structured way to manage schedules, timelines, and dependencies. So really the first option is to stay as close as possible to the Microsoft suite. That might mean looking at tools Microsoft are recommending, such as Planner, Project Server, or combining elements of the wider Microsoft stack to recreate parts of the current setup. For some organizations, that will feel like the most natural route because it keeps them within a familiar environment. But the challenge is that it also can mean recreating some of the same limitations, whether that be relying on multiple tools, manual reporting, and limited portfolio level visibility. The second option is to use this as an opportunity to step back and consider a more purpose-built platform. And the reason why more organizations are doing that is because they're not just looking for another scheduling tool, they're looking for better visibility, stronger governance, and more connected reporting in a simpler way to manage work across the entire portfolio. So really the decision is not just what replaces Project Online, it's whether this is the right moment to move to a model that's better suited to how organizations want to manage work, not just today, but in the future. So before we get into what comes next, I just want to reflect on what we've been hearing from organizations in this position. I think in most cases, work is spread across multiple tools. You might have Project Online for scheduling, Excel for tracking, Power BI for reporting, and SharePoint or Teams or Outlook for collaboration. And while each of those tools works well individually, together they create quite a fragmented way of managing delivery. That usually leads to a few consistent challenges. So reporting becomes manual and time consuming. There's no single real-time view of the portfolio, and a lot of knowledge sits with individuals rather than a consistent and scalable process. So that starts as a sort of tooling issue, often becomes a visibility and governance issue. And that's typically the point where organizations begin to rethink their approach more broadly. So when we speak with customers about PPM more broadly, the challenge we hear over and over again is they're struggling to deliver results. The reality is that the way businesses work is changing faster than most people can adapt. Teams are more interconnected than ever, but silos still persist. They are equipped with increasingly sophisticated tools, but those tools often don't integrate well, which creates friction rather than clarity. And while digital transformation is on almost every executive's agenda, many organizations still struggle to make that change stick in a consistent and scalable way. What that tends to mean in practice is that work is spread across disconnected systems, leadership lacks one trusted view of work, strategic alignment is difficult to assess, and reporting becomes far too manual. At that point, it stops being just an operational challenge and it becomes a business challenge. Decision-making slows down, risk is harder to spot early on, and it becomes much more difficult to ensure resources are being directed towards the right priorities. So with that in mind, sort of what comes next? Many organizations are using this as a point to take a step back. Rather than looking for just a like-for-like replacement, they start to think more about the model they want moving forward. That usually means moving towards a more connected approach where projects, reporting, and governance sit in one place, where data doesn't need to be manually pulled together, and where leadership can access a real-time view of what's happening across the portfolio. The focus shifts from just managing projects to improving visibility, consistency, and confidence in delivery, and importantly, doing it in a way that's simple enough for teams to actually adopt. So what if instead of managing projects across multiple tools, pulling together reports manually and relying on individuals to keep things up to date, you could adopt a single platform that builds all of that together, where work is captured consistently, progress is visible in real time, and reporting is already there, rather than something you have to create. And to be honest, that's where Smartsheet comes in. So Smartsheet helps customers capture, prioritize, and report on work more consistently without creating unnecessary complexity for teams. It's not just about tracking projects, it's about giving leadership a clearer visibility across the portfolio and more confidence in delivery. That's why Smartsheet operates in over 190 countries and supports more than 80% of the Fortune 100. So really, how does Smartsheet work? At a practical level, Smartsheet connects the flow of work from intake and prioritization through to planning, execution, and into portfolio reporting. That sounds simple, but it's important because one of the biggest problems in fragmented environments is that these stages sit across separate tools with separate processes and separate owners. This is where visibility really starts to break down. What Smartsheet does really well is bring more of that into one connected model. So incoming demand can be captured more consistently, project work can be managed against agreed standards, and the reporting layer above it becomes much more reliable. From a leadership point of view, the benefit is better oversight without needing to drop into operational detail. And this slide really shows the breadth of where Smartsheet can add value. It can support many different use cases across the organization. The important thing to focus on here is the areas that matter most. Ultimately, we make sure that Smartsheet is not just another standalone tool. It needs to work across different teams to fit into the systems you already use, whether that be Microsoft Teams, Power BI, or Jira. So the value is in creating a more connected framework for intake, prioritization, execution, and reporting, whilst giving leadership a clearer view across the portfolio without adding another silo. One thing I want to add here is that Smartsheet is probably best known for its sort of PPM capabilities. However, I was working with a council who initially adopted Smartsheet in their PMO team. And during COVID, they urgently needed to come up with a way to manage COVID grants. And many local councils in their region paid huge amounts of money for bespoke tools to be created. And this council was actually able to use Smartsheet to create their own grant management solution. And I mention this because Smartsheet is really one of those tools that can help future-proof your tech stack. We have some customers who initially require a simple PMO solution, but in time that might scale into service delivery, contracts management, and so on. And of course, we can support when your needs change and grow over time. Whether you'd like Cheetah to deliver the full build or you need just support for your team to build it yourselves, we can adjust the approach to suit your preferences. So I'm going to keep this quite high level as Charlotte will be jumping into the demo shortly, but I thought it was worth sharing the platform itself is built on a few simple components. So sheets, forms, reports, and dashboards. Sheets are where work is managed and brings the familiarity of a traditional spreadsheet, but with the power of Smartsheet. Forms help collect information in a structured way. Reports pull the right data together. And dashboards provide the visibility layer for leadership and key stakeholders. I mention that because there's always a temptation in these situations to over-engineer the next solution, try and cover every edge case on day one. But in practice, what tends to work better is a solution that's robust enough to govern work well, but simple enough that people actually adopt it. That balance between structure and usability is one of the reasons why Smartsheet is a global leader in this space. So with that context in mind, let's move on to the Smartsheet demo itself, and I'll hand over Charlotte here, who's going to give you a live demo of the platform.
Amazing, thanks Amy. Cool, I'll share my screen. All good?
Yes, perfect.
Awesome, thanks Amy. Perfect, so yeah, like Amy mentioned, with Microsoft Project Online retiring in September 2026, many organizations that we're talking to kind of every single day are already reassessing and assessing how portfolio governance, delivery oversight and reporting are managed. This webinar, and I've tried to in this demonstration, not bash Project Online and other tools. Many of you have built solid processes on Project Online and kind of other things in that ecosystem. What we're really here to do is just show you what's possible when you move to a platform built for more modern portfolio management. So over the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to take you on a slightly different journey. I'm going to start with the end state, so this like portfolio reporting and what your leadership dashboard could look like in real time. Then I'll walk backwards and go to the demand intake and show you how you actually get there. So how your intake feeds potentially your prioritization and how you prioritize, how prioritization drives your execution, and then how execution data then rolls up into that dashboard. At the end, like Amy mentioned, we're going to go through kind of what that transition looks like in practice, and we've also got time to answer any questions you have. Cool, so before I show you the dashboard, I just want to paint you, Amy's done a really good job so far, paint a little bit more of a picture of what we hear from PMOs right now, so across government, regulated industries, and the private sector as well. So potentially you've got multiple departments, multiple regions even, dozens of concurrent projects going on, and leadership really wants to know, are we on track? What's at risk? Are we delivering to our strategic priorities that we spent ages at the beginning of the year deciding on? But to answer those questions, you're pulling data from multiple places. You're updating PowerPoints manually, and by the time those reports actually reach leadership, the data's already pretty stale. So meanwhile, that's happening. You've got new requests coming in from email or Teams or shared folders or Slack, whatever you use. And really, what we hear a lot of the times is there's just no consistency. There's no clear prioritization, and the intake chaos just cascades then into execution chaos as well. So Project Online and other tools can handle some of this, but what we hear is that it's still very friction heavy. There's still manual effort, there's still manual changes that need to be done, where team members can be using those hours for lots more valuable things for the business. And when you're managing at scale, all that time and all that friction really adds up as well. So Smartsheet really tries to flip all that. So we'll go into a bit more of the platform now. So going straight in, like I said, to the portfolio dashboard, portfolio reporting, this is what your leadership is actually asking for. This is their potentially 10,000 foot view. So they can see how many projects do we have in flight, how many are green, yellow, and red across our programs or strategic goals. This is the executive summary, really, of the whole portfolio. And it's just one glance. There's no hunting through spreadsheets or waiting for continuous calls. It's all here for them to look at. And we can also drill down further from this view as well. So just giving you one example of many that we can go through, but just seeing here the spend by program, I can see straight away, and look at these, like, are we on budget? Are we trending over or under? Like, are we balanced across what we're spending? But I can see straight away that the BI program that I have has been overspent. So in Project Online and perhaps other tools, like leadership would have to perhaps email the sponsor, find out what's happening. The sponsor would have to go to their team, say, hey, can you get all of your Excel documents or your trackers of budget? Can you spend time kind of putting all of that together? And it's just extra time that project managers and team members kind of really don't have. But here, leadership can actually drill down into the BI dashboard itself. So this gives an overview of all of the projects. We can see really quickly that almost every project is being overspent on, and it could be we're not budgeting right for these types of projects. It could be that there's things happening in these types of projects that are going on. Again, we've got status headlines, descriptions of it, and we can even drill down even further into the project dashboard as well. So really just being able to automatically and immediately have access to the data to get questions to answers answers to questions straight away, so that the leadership team can help course correct on anything that's notified. So coming back to the portfolio dashboard here, I've also got a bit of a schedule, a bit of a roadmap for the projects and the active projects that are going on and all the relevant data that I need to review at this level. So you can see every active project, when it's supposed to deliver. Again, we've got a bit of a Gantt chart here as well. And for organizations managing perhaps complex programs with multiple projects, whether you're in, again, government, fintech, healthcare, this is where you get to see the bigger picture of everything that's going on. If you've got 12 major projects all delivering in Q3 happening in a couple of months, like, you can see that, and you might need to have contractor support to deliver those. You might need to actually stagger delivery and kind of get those conversations going. So, but at least you can see this information. We also have a bit of a calendar view as well, just to see those projects in a slightly different format as well. And as a leader, I've got 37 projects in this portfolio. This could be 370 for other PMOs and other leaders in their organization. And they don't really have time to dig through all of these projects to find out, okay, what are the projects at risk? What projects are actually in trouble that I need to provide my support, my advice, my decisions to get back to green? So with one click, I can actually go through the noise, and I can dive straight into this at-risk project report. And this is fully customizable for what defines your projects are at risk. It could be when projects are delayed, or they've gone over budget, or they actually have a certain amount of risks and issues associated to the project. But as leadership, I can see the fire, see where the team might need support, and I can action on this accordingly as well and get these 5 projects back to green. So here's what's slightly different from Project Online and other tools. So these dashboards definitely exist in other areas and other places, but sometimes they can be very laborious to build and maintain. We hear a lot about people pulling data again from multiple places. People are updating PowerPoints because that's the norm and what leadership want. But decisions are being made on those PowerPoints and all of that data that is 2, 3, 4+ days old by the time leadership see it. And in this day and age, projects and everything and priorities are moving so quickly that a week's data out of date could be detrimental to, how you compete with your competition or how you get these projects delivered. So the obvious question is, okay, how do we get here? How do we get all of this nice pretty dashboard? How do we get all the data to flow into one place? And like I said at the beginning, we've got to start with our intake process. So this is where your whole system can start. In most organizations, requests can come in via email, Teams, or if you're lucky, maybe a shared folder of sorts, and there's really no consistency. Some requests have budget information and business cases, some definitely do not. Some are aligned to our strategic goals, and some are just like, oh, we think we really need this. We have like a gut feel that this is important. So this is what we're really trying to change with all of that. So at the top, we've got some metrics at a glance, and this is looking to that kind of underlying data of everything that's been submitted. So we can see for the requests, like how many are waiting to review, how many are in review, how many have been approved. And if you've got a lot kind of awaiting review here, it could be that your PMO capacity is limited and actually there's a lot of projects that need to be happen. Like, do we need to increase our PMO capacity to get these projects kind of underway and to keep going? These have been requested and raised for a reason for sure. And even looking at the project requests by the portfolio as well, is there a certain program or portfolio or department where they're requesting a lot of projects and there's a lot of moving parts? This can really help organizations see, okay, what is coming? Where do we perhaps need to increase capacity in our project managers or our expertise or our, people in those departments to take on all of this work that in a moment we're going to prioritize as well. And just coming down slightly, instead of an email, you'll be happy to hear, we use a standardized form in Smartsheet. So the requester here answers key questions, such as what is the description of the project, what needs to happen, what's the strategic goal, what's the budget, all of this important information. And if there's any kind of files that you need uploading, they can attach them here as well. And the nice things about the forms is that you don't need to give the requesters or the submitters access to the underlying data or a license to populate the form. I've embedded the form into the dashboard because I think it looks nice, but the form URL can live outside of Smartsheet. And ultimately, the requesters fill out the form, submit it, and it flows into your backlog sheet or your pipeline sheet automatically. We can even give people a bit of a view into the progress of their submissions as well. So they don't just submit the form and it goes into the abyss and they never hear from anything again. They have that visual aspect and that transparency as well. So going into the pipeline or the backlog, this is where the PMO team, potentially leadership, can basically triage the incoming requests. You can filter by department, by budget type, and see which projects here are ready to score and prioritize to see if it's worth going ahead with or not. So now you've got visibility into what work has been asked of you. You've standardized how it comes in and you've got all the information that you need. How do you decide actually which work to take on? So this is where we have or can have a portfolio prioritization dashboard. So this is how we move from what is being asked of us to what where we're going, what we're actually doing, and why. In other tools, you can get a bit of a portfolio view, but sometimes they're kind of built once, almost like a report, and it can be very static to build. And in other softwares that we see, you know, when you're scoring and reviewing and you want to change anything, you need a consultant or you need IT to get involved to change anything. And here we very much want to empower the PMO team and the owners to really own the full solution. So if there's any changes that you need to do, you can absolutely do that as well. So coming to the pipeline, I have a few prioritization metrics here for my projects. So when a new project comes in, I can go ahead and update the prioritization scores for each of these metrics so that there's kind of a weighted total of these projects as well. And I've got some conditional formatting in here. Again, we've got these kind of guardrails so that we can see, okay, these projects really align with our prioritizations, perhaps strategic goals, and there's some other projects which absolutely don't. So either they get rejected or they get pushed out for a later date because everybody we talk to, you know, we only have so many resources, whether that's people, whether that's budget, to do all of these projects. So actually being able to clearly prioritize and have that proper calculated weighted score instead of like a gut feel of like, oh, I think this one's more important than that one. This can just really help kind of prioritize the right projects at the right time. We can even start to have a look at the active projects that we have here, and even pull in some utilization data as well of like how busy our teams are, our people are potentially, so we can see who has the capacity to take on these projects as well. So this is where kind of our intake feeds the prioritization as well. So your standardized intake forms have given you finally clear structured data. So now you're using that data to make strategic trade-offs. You're not firefighting, you're not reacting to things, you are seeing everything, you're prioritizing it, and you're deciding on what happens. Okay, so now project managers and the team know what they're working on and why. Let's have a quick look at what the execution actually looks like in practice. So here, oh, I could take a quick sip while it's loading. That's nice. Okay, so this is an example of a project dashboard, a project that's in flight. This is the software transformation project, and oh look, they're implementing Smartsheet. How lovely. So this really is the project's home. At the top here, we've got all the essential information, such as the estimated end date, the task health or the project health, the budget spent, the percent complete. And in a couple of seconds, the project manager, leadership can have a look at the status of this project, where it is it in trouble? Is it going red? You know, what's really happening on the project. And below that, we can surface some more information as well. So task performance, what upcoming tasks do we have, upcoming milestones, so we know what's coming up on this project. Our high priority kind of risks and issues as well. So we know what we're prioritizing, we know what's been logged so that we can mitigate and resolve the risks and issues. And also surfacing some budget information as well. So is this project on track financially? Where are we? What have we tracked? What's going on? And really having that transparency in one place has been key for so many of our customers. So if the project manager and the team want to dive further into the project, they can come here into their project plan. So this is where the actual work lives. You've got tasks, you've got dependencies, you've got the owners of the tasks and the dates that they're assigned to. And this is where we can start assigning people to the work as well. And this is where collaboration happens in context. So instead of email chains being back and forth, like, yeah, this has been done, or this is about here, or I still need to do this, and just getting lost in a world of emails, but team members can actually comment directly into the sheet itself. So Charlotte here has nicely given Charlotte, and also we can attach things as well, whether it's PowerPoints, Excel documents, or actually documents within your online SharePoints and Google Drives. We can actually attach those to the row itself on the task so that people have all the information that they need to go ahead and complete the tasks that they need. I've even asked Jose here just to add the initial design concepts into our project folder that we've got created in Google Drive as well. So again, everything is kind of one place, everything's linked, so we don't need to go scrambling around in our emails anymore. So other tools as well, kind of updating the plan can be very manual. I know when I used to be a bit of a project manager, I would have the one Microsoft license, and then I would need calls every single day, like, where are you with this? Where are you with this? Just to get kind of the live information from everybody. And this is like, we want people to be accountable. We want people to collaborate and work together. So this is where, like, having the clear ownership and having people being able to come in, you know, they can update their % complete and the status when it's completed. So literally, as soon as you're in progress or as soon as you've completed a task, the team members can come in and they can directly update the view here. And if your execution teams kind of work in perhaps more of an agile cadence, maybe a bit more in sprints or Kanban boards as well, we can change the views that we have. So there's a couple of different views here that we have. So the underlying data here is the same. If I just want to switch by status or see what tasks are assigned to as well, the team just works in a view that makes sense to them. So what we hear a lot from customers is that Smartsheet's familiar interface, such very much like our grid table view that we have, is built like that for a reason, to be familiar. And, you know, maybe our Gantt view or the board view for agile teams, you know, it really actually helps with quicker training and adoption compared to other tools. You know, your team doesn't need to learn like a whole new way of working. They adapt Smartsheet to how they already work. So that makes the transition from things like Project Online a lot smoother, and it gets people productive, like more productive, a lot faster. And in Smartsheet as well, when a task changes or you assign somebody to a task, the system can automatically notify the owner as well. If a task is marked as at risk, potentially, we can send an automation that flags it to the project manager, the PMO, leadership. Again, there's lots of flexibility around our automations and workflows that you can build into the platform as well. Nice. So one more asset that we have to show in our project as well is a impact tracker, or a RAID log, as people call it. And these are kind of like the risks, issues, perhaps actions and decisions you might want to add in here. So risks that may be going wrong on the project, issues that we've tracked that unfortunately have gone wrong on the project, and everything can be logged in one place for people to own, to mitigate, to action on. And it's all very auditable as well. So we even have an activity log if you need even more details. So for organizations in regulated industries or government, this audit trail has been absolutely key. So if you need to demonstrate governance as well and being able to see, okay, who does what, who's changed what where, this is also really useful just for the project managers as well. And there's a lot of people working in one place. You know, all of that governance is baked into the audit trail. Amazing. So now that your project managers have a solid hub for their execution, the tasks are a lot clearer, collaboration is more frictionless, and risks are tracked in real time. And all of this happens really as tasks are moving, risks get logged, and perhaps our budgets are shifting. All of that data is automatically linked and automatically feeds up back to the portfolio dashboard that we saw at the start. And that is really how you can get real-time visibility at scale as well. So bringing it back to the portfolio dashboard, this is what potentially your solution and your systems can look like when your system is working. So your intake is standardized, so your data is clean, your prioritization is transparent, so projects are aligned to strategy and not gut feeling. Your execution is collaborative and in real time, so risks surface immediately, and all of that data automatically flows into one place. So leadership see all of this in real time. There's no more PowerPoint scramble on a Friday afternoon. There's no more waiting around for Monday morning meetings and everyone grabbing a cup of coffee. This data is all live, so no matter if you're on the train on the way to the office, you can even get this up on your phone just to see, okay, where are we right now, not in a week when I finally get my report to me. And here's the beauty: when tasks and projects do go from green to red, leadership can see that immediately. They can, as soon as a project goes red by whatever you define, it will be 6 projects at risk then, and we can set up automations for that as well. So one last thing before I hand back over to the team, which I think is important to mention, just everything that you've seen today, the dashboards, the sheets, everything is completely customizable. You can edit all of this that you see, or the labels, or the colors, and you can even embed web content like Power BI directly into this view. And this really matters when you're thinking about licensing and how this is licensed. So, and I've stolen a quote that I've heard that Rob says a lot, but viewers are free and doers are chargeable. So you can actually share this dashboard with your entire leadership team, your steering committees, your oversight boards, without needing a license for each person who just wants to look at the data. Only the people actually updating and managing the work need a license. So that's what makes scaling visibility across your organization much more cost effective. So I think just to finalize, obviously other tools, you're kind of like building these dashboards manually, maybe they're like snapshots of data. Here, they really are the kind of natural output of the end-to-end well-designed system. Once this is built, that's it, you're good to go. You don't need to change anything unless you want to. And when September 2026 hits and Project Online goes dark, with this system, you're not scrambling, you're running on a platform built for what modern PMOs actually need to do. Cool. That was everything from me. I'll hand back over to you, Amy.
Thanks, Charlotte. Let me just reshare my screen. Perfect. Can you see that?
Yep.
Brilliant. So as you can probably see from Charlotte's demo, so Smartsheet is not a one-size-fits-all solution. And I know some of you will be completely new to Smartsheet and others might be using it for a while. Smartsheet can be implemented via self-service, but oftentimes we see the best return on your investment is where people have leveraged a partner who has the expertise to build a robust solution, whilst making sure it's simple and scalable enough for your teams to actually manage long-term. It's not just about whether Smartsheet sort of can support your requirements, it's about whether you can implement that in a way that's measured, well-governed, and easy for teams to adopt. So for this section, I'll just briefly touch on the implementation process and the support we can provide at Cheetah Transformation before we discuss next steps. So I won't spend too long on this slide, but I did want to show you that Smartsheet is incredibly flexible in terms of how far you take it. At its core, you have the main platform and the integrations that sit around it, such as Microsoft Teams. Then where it really adds value are the additional applications, connectors, and support services that can be layered in over time. The main point for you is that it doesn't need to be an all or nothing decision on day one. You can start with sort of the core requirements around intake, execution, and reporting that Charlotte ran through today, and then build out further if and when the business needs needs it. So it gives you the flexibility now, but also room to scale over time. Many of our customers come to us for advice and recommendations to build the solution that really works for them. And Smartsheet is a brilliant platform, and you can build it yourself, but sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And having an expert partner like Cheetah ensures you're getting maximum value from your Smartsheet investment. So whether you're an existing client or new to Smartsheet, we can definitely support. In terms of implementation, our approach is structured yet practical. Typically, we'd start with discovery and scoping, then moving into solution design, then building weekly sprints with regular review points before moving on to user testing, launch, training, and handover. The indicative timeline here is about 12 weeks, although obviously that would really depend on final scope. The reason why I wanted to include it is that we know confidence in delivery approach matters just as much as confidence in the platform itself. So it's designed as a sort of phased, visible, and collaborative approach with clear checkpoints along the way. And in practice, what we usually do is translate your process into a consistent project toolkit that can scale. That might include a project plan, finance tracking, weekly updates, RAID logs, change control, and project dashboards. While that sounds a little bit operational, the executive value is significant. I think if every project is being run and reported differently across multiple tools or spreadsheets, leadership will never get a clear view. But with a consistent toolkit in place, reporting becomes more comparable, risks are easier to surface, and the PMO can govern with much more confidence. There's also room to take this further with Smartsheet's premium applications, which can provide additional value through greater consistency, stronger governance, and more scalability across the portfolio. I won't explore that too much today, but we'd be happy to discuss that further, if that's of interest for your teams. But ultimately, there is a clear value in the core solution through improved visibility, reporting, and control, with the option to build on that further where greater scale and governance are needed. So the penultimate thing I wanted to run through before we move on to the Q&A is the free support that we can provide. So because in my experience, that's often what makes the difference between a launch that is technically successful and one that's genuinely successful. Alongside implementation services and user training as part of the solution build, we can provide training and enablement to help new users get comfortable quickly, as well as more advanced support over time as the solution matures. Our Get Started sessions with Smartsheet are a great way to get your teams, particularly new employees, confident with using Smartsheet. And our Cheetah Coalition is a session for existing customers scheduled on a regular basis around specific topics, whether that be automation best practice, dashboarding, or to discuss any new features and functionality. We know from experience sort of ease of use and adoption are important, so it's a key part of the picture. It's not just about delivering a solution, it's about making sure your team, system admins, and end users are all confident using it, so you actually get long-term sustainable value from your Smartsheet investment. So just to wrap things up, working backwards from the September 30th deadline, most organizations are looking to get their new solution up and running by August to allow some time before the official deadline. Depending on the complexity of your solution and what information you need to either migrate or archive, you might want to factor in a few months for scoping and the build process. So this sort of takes us to sort of May or June, which is when you'd likely want to kick off the project. So with that in mind, it's unsurprising that many organizations are starting to act now, because once you factor in planning, procurement, implementation, the timeline becomes quite tight. I know from my experience working with public sector, adhering to sort of procurement regulations and supplier onboarding can often take much longer than expected. And for those in public sector or other regulated industries, it's worth noting that Cheetah Transformation are on the G-Cloud 14 public sector framework, and we can work with customers via direct award or via a formal tender process. And I believe we're the only Smartsheet Platinum partner to be both on G-Cloud and Cyber Essentials Plus certified, which I know is increasingly important as security and data assurance continue to play a bigger role in these decisions. So that was everything I wanted to cover off today. Hopefully what I've shown is that Smartsheet can help you gain a more centralized view of your work, clearer alignment between projects and company priorities, and a more practical way to improve governance, reporting, and delivery confidence without adding unnecessary complexity. So whether you're an existing Smartsheet customer looking to maximize your solution, or just considering Smartsheet to replace a Microsoft project online, the team and I will be more than happy to schedule a call to discuss further. So feel free to scan the QR code to schedule some time with me, or just send me an email. But for now, thanks again for your time, and Charlotte, Rob, and I would be very happy to take any questions. And just to give everyone enough time to submit their questions, I think let's just start with sort of a question for Rob. So, Rob, from your experience, what do you think are the biggest benefits customers see from working with a partner like Cheetah on this kind of transition?
Yeah, thanks, Amy. I think the first thing is building the right solution and building it right first time. One of the key things here is we can again, we've done hundreds of these builds over time, but it's about listening to your specific requirements and building the solution that's right for you, that scales on the platform. So firstly, it's about the right solution. Secondly, is typically customers refer to us as a bit like their trusted advisor on the platform. So we're here for you as and when you need us. And typically we have great customer relationships going many years. We get great reviews on Trustpilot, and it works out to be a super cost-effective way of making sure you get a great solution which is fully supported long term. And finally, the most important thing here is helping you adopt the solution. So helping your teams feel comfortable with the platform, with the solution, so you can get value quickly. So again, key things here is get the right solution. We can be your trusted advisor, and thirdly, let's make sure your teams use it, get value, and then helping you be more productive and getting things done faster, quicker, etc.
Yeah, and just add, I think things like the coalition that we have, which is a free resource, are really helpful there. So if we've got a solution up and running, you can regularly join those sessions and hear about what's coming next. If there are features and functionality you haven't used yet, you can have a little bit of an intro into that. And I think that's quite beneficial to have that ongoing support to make sure we don't just create the solution and leave it as is, but we keep on evolving and making sure everyone's up to date. I think, Helen, are there any questions in the chat that we should go through?
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions. For organisations thinking about making this change, what helps reduce the risk of getting it wrong?
I think I could probably start with that, and then Rob, Charlotte, if you want to jump in. I think for me, it's probably about taking a bit more of a phased approach. So sort of starting with the sort of core requirements or use cases first, and then expanding from there. I think having a structured implementation approach is key. So you can have sort of clear checkpoints on the way and adapt as you go, and potentially maybe a bit of a phased approach. So if you do need sort of PMO solution, but also you're interested in, I think we mentioned contracts management earlier, sort of doing that in a sensible way so everyone gets used to it and we get feedback as we go.
Thank you. Next question, what are the M365 integration possibilities that your team can assist with?
I'm not actually sure on that. Charlotte, do you have any visibility into that from a Smartsheet side?
I'm just having a look. I know the team are busy with connectors and stuff. Let me have a quick look.
If not, we can follow up that answer afterwards. But I know that we've got a lot of teams currently who are using Teams integrations, which I think they found quite useful. So rather than having people having to move out of Teams to use Smartsheet instead, they can sort of do a lot of their work from within Teams via Smartsheet, which has been quite helpful.
Yeah, and even the notifications and stuff can be sent to people in Teams as well. So if you use Teams a lot and working with Teams in your with your colleagues, then that's useful to get notifications to where you're doing some work.
Yeah, I think, Helen, we've got some customers that embed Smartsheet dashboards within Teams, don't they?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we have quite a few clients that use MS Teams, as you say, to embed dashboards, so it's easy for people to access and have a look without actually having to go into the Smartsheet platform. And that's really helped them with adoption of Smartsheet, because they're kind of putting it into an environment that the organisation is used to using, familiar to using, and it's really helped adoption.
Yeah, I think that's why we make sure we spend enough time in the scoping phase to look at how you're currently operating and sort of what state you'd like to get to, so that we don't completely change things just for the sake of it, but we actually fit it into your current process. And if Teams is a really clear part of that, we'll make sure that that's embedded correctly.
Yeah, definitely. I think when it is like when you're working with the Microsoft, I think it's sometimes a lot of our customers use the Power BI as well. So just being able to kind of have some of those dashboards and tables and things embedded in the Smartsheet dashboards is really useful. Also being able to connect to like OneDrive and SharePoint. So we do have an integration to that, but we're evolving to just like any URL for any SharePoint that you have. So yeah, there's some things there.
Got another question, if you would like.
Mm-hmm.
So the dashboards look very good aesthetically. Is there a means to create an automated monthly report with a similar level of professional looking quality?
Good question. I think monthly reports. There's I know there's an enhancement on the roadmap actually about being able to send like the dashboards monthly and stuff, and you can always like slice and dice the data like as you need to. So if you need to do reporting on like the data in this month, the data in that month, then that's stuff that's possible in the system as well. So yeah, it depends what you need.
Okay, thank you. How do organisations make sure that their teams are using the platform?
I think there's probably a few things here. I think Charlotte sort of touched on this during the demo, but what we often hear from customers is that there's definitely a familiarity within the sort of sheets section. So people are confident in that sort of structure, but you've got that familiarity within the sheets, but then with the power of Smartsheet and the automations and flowing through to reports and dashboards. But I think at its heart, it's probably more about simplicity. And obviously, Smartsheet is flexible. The key is designing something that really fits around how teams already work and combining that with sort of handing over to the team. So you don't need to come back to us for every single change. You know, obviously, you can if there's something more complicated, but you're empowered to be able to do that yourselves. But it needs to make sure that it fits into how teams already work. So with the training, the onboarding support, and then the ongoing support, that sort of drives, I think, long-term adoption and make sure teams actually use it and enjoy using it.
Just building on that as well, we often see that it's when the leaders of the team, they display the dashboards during their weekly meetings. They put it up there. If that becomes central to your work, everyone can see this being, this is the way of working, and everyone jumps on the platform. And soon everyone realizes they're going to save so much time. So typically we'll see 20%, 25% time savings. So again, there's a key role the sponsor needs to play here to make sure they help drive that change.
Yeah, and just from an ease of use to add to that as well, like something that I didn't show in the demo, but we can always discuss in a further call, but we can actually build out like my work portals. So if people are on like tasks and projects and have like risks and issues assigned to them on like and they're assigned to many projects, we can have like all of that data kind of in the one dashboard. So if I log into that, I can see all the tasks and everything that I'm assigned to. So it's really easy that I've just got everything all in one place that I'm responsible for, and I can just easily update. So we see a lot of success from that, from a build perspective.
And we can set automated notifications and reminders from there, can't we, Charlotte? So if it's, let's say, if it's 7 days from a deadline, we can send either a Teams reminder or an email reminder saying, this is due. Or again, if it's overdue, we can send that reminder through that, you need to get that update done, or we can send that through to leadership so they can see that rather than having to manually check through different reports and chase people via Teams or Outlook or however they're doing things. So it does save quite a bit of time.
Yeah, and like the update requests are really good with that as well. So if it's like a day out, 7 days out, like you said, and it's in progress, just the system sending out an update request so the end user can just be like, yeah, I'm 50%, yeah, I'm 70%, and that can be sent to their email as well. So it's very easy to update the data to keep on top of things.
Yeah, I think that's where having a partner like Cheetah really helps, because I think a lot of people might use Smartsheet similar to how they've been using sort of projects or Excel, but actually they don't quite realize that there's all of these automations we could set up to make your life easier. So they're not quite unlocking the full value of Smartsheet. So from doing our sort of scoping and implementation, we can make sure all those things are in place as they should. So you're getting maximum value. And like Charlotte said, then have got time to focus on your core role and not just manually updating things.
Thank you. I've got a question to say, is there any chance to access Smartsheet via a mobile phone? As currently, if the internet is poor, the loading of the Smartsheet page can be quite slow.
So there is a mobile app, I know that. Was the question around whether the mobile app was slow or whether just Smartsheet generally?
I think it's if it's loading slowly on your PC, would it be better if you tried to access it via the mobile phone app?
Yeah, I mean, there is a mobile phone app. I personally have never used it. I don't know, Charlotte or Rob, if you've used the mobile app.
Yeah, it's fine. Absolutely fine. It's great for people who are out and about, and works very effectively. You can view it via dashboards. You can go and sort of have your favorites on there. So it's super easy. And the nice thing as well, it's really simple. If you want to go and use the forms feature on there, you can also sort of take photographs and upload the photographs into your sheets. So there's all sorts of great stuff you can do with the mobile phone app.
I think on that point, Rob, you mentioned something in a meeting we had yesterday, I think regarding QR codes and intake forms that worked quite well for people that are on site. Do you want to just touch on that briefly?
Yeah, I mean, a common use case of Smartsheet could be things like health and safety. And we've often seen around factories, whatever, you could have a QR code. If there's any health or safety incident, you can scan the QR code, a form comes up, you put your details in, press submit, take a photograph, you can do a location, GIS location. All that goes into the sheet. You can then go and start the automation, so the safety manager is informed, and you can start the workflows that way. So there's all sorts of different ways you can do that. So lots and lots of really good use cases there.
Yeah. As Charlotte mentioned, you don't need a license to be able to access a form, so that's just a URL. So actually, people on site, if they don't need to do work within Smartsheet, but we still want them to use the form, you don't need to pay for a license to be able to do that.
Okay, I've got another question. Following up on the dashboard slicing and dicing that's been mentioned, is it possible from the dashboard itself in real time, similar to Power BI slicers? I think is that possible to edit the dashboard itself in real time?
Yes, there's two things. So our product team are working on this feature at the moment, and it should be released in the next couple of months. The other thing that a lot of our customers do today is that you can have like almost buttons on the dashboard as well. So say if you need to go to a different program or you need to slice by this region, it's kind of already like pre-built for you. So you can just like click a button, it goes to that region. Click a button and it goes to the other region. So the different options that we have at the minute, but yeah, like the slicing and dicing, like these are the projects by this region and that sort of thing, is on the roadmap, going to be released in the next couple of months.
I think it's gone live, Charlotte. I've got filters on my filters on my dashboards the last few days, so I think it's actually now live.
It was an EAP, but it depends whether it's come out of EAP.
Yeah,
maybe
might have been this week.
It's in the EAP. Maybe it's in the EAP. So okay, it's either live
It's
or
coming.
soon to be live. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely
Not
got. There's a
long.
lot of talk internally about it, so we're all really excited for being able to slice and dice more like the Power BI. So enhancements.
And Helen, I think we've probably got time for one question, conscious of time.
Yes, I guess it's a question from me really. So if someone's watching this now and thinking, right, we need to sort of get on with this and get planning, what would you advise next steps for them to be to get on this journey?
Yeah, so I think bearing in mind looking at the sort of timelines that I mentioned on the previous slide, I think it would probably just start with a conversation with us. So every organisation is slightly different. So what we would do is typically look at your current setup, review what's working and what's not, and map out a practical approach from there with the sort of Smartsheet recommendations and automations. There's not really a sort of one size fits all approach. So we'd make sure that our recommendations really add value. So feel free to schedule some time with me or the team, or you can just send me an email. The QR code there works. And we can obviously get started. So again, thanks everyone for your time today. Thanks Helen, Charlotte and Rob for joining as well. I will circulate the recording from the session over the next few days. And if you or your teams have any questions, would like to discuss Smartsheet, feel free to scan the QR code and schedule some time with me. Thanks very much, everyone.
Yes, thanks everyone.
everyone. Thanks for joining. As it's a few minutes